All right, we'll try this one. Absolutely gorgeous. Wonderful. What are those lines again? Built on the grace. Yeah, what's the first one?
In a house we build a foundation on the cornerstone of love.
Wow. That's where our firm foundation is. It's on the cornerstone of love. Have you ever built a house on the cornerstone of fear and anger and grief and guilt? Have you ever tried to build a relationship on those things? And what happens? It crumbles because you get the same thing that you built it with, don't you? Cornerstone, we're going to build a nation on the cornerstone of fear. It doesn't work, does it? No, why are we trying to do it? Why are we continually trying to do that? We continually talk about ourselves, about our neighbors, about our world with the old ideas of negativity and fear, separation, of judgment of others. And it is manifest in this world. You just need to look at the news. I'm not going to go into any of those things, but I can tell you, I got very, very angry at how the human race is treating one another these days. And it took a lot of meditation over the last couple of days for me to allow that anger to turn into compassion. I love the word compassion because it means with passion. So I take all of my energy and I place it on the cornerstone of love. And with all of the passion of my heart, I attempt to give it away in a meaningful way that's going to make a difference in this world. And I allow the Spirit of God within me to guide me in those things, not the spirit of my own understanding, of sense consciousness. So today we're going to ask the great question, are you evolving? We said last week there's a revolution happening, and that revolution is what? The evolution of our consciousness. That's the real revolution that's happening, and that's the one that's necessary. That's the one that cuts through all of our false labels that separate us. All of the false designations and judgments that I have put out there on other people, no matter what it might be, because I think you're different from me. And it's just not true. We're all the same. And the evolution of our consciousness, it will bring us from that place of separation to that place of oneness. So I'd like to really take a look at that today. What I'm going to use today is two very important authors in my life. One is Eckhart Tolle, who wrote a book called The New Earth, Awakening to Life's Purpose. And the title of his book actually comes from a scripture in Revelations 21, that says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, where there was no more pain, no more suffering, no more tears. Why? Because the former things have passed away and the new things have come into manifestation. But they won't come except through you. We think that some mysterious power is going to bring it into manifestation. It's not true. It's the change of our own mind and our own heart. I have so many things, I don't know where to put them all. So my question today is, are you evolving? Evolution of our consciousness has been called the greatest necessity facing humankind right now. And I'd like to read a little bit from Eckhart Tolle of why it is our greatest necessity. If the structures of the human mind remain unchanged, we will always end up recreating, fundamentally, the same world, the same evils, and the same dysfunction. That's why it's our greatest necessity. Because we're at a point of change, of revolution, where enough people are saying, no, we can't do it the same way anymore. This way of having separate opinions, separate purposes, separate ideas, lead to judgment, lead to anger, and lead to more separation and dysfunction. It leads to us robbing our planet from the essential ingredients to support life. And so Eckhart would go on to say that a significant portion of the Earth's population will soon recognize, if they haven't done so already, that humanity is now faced with a stark choice. And that choice is evolve or die. A still relatively small but rapidly growing percentage of humanity is already experiencing within themselves the breakup of the old egoic mind patterns and the emergence of new dimensions of consciousness. So the first thing that has to happen is the breakup of my egoic mind patterns. Because those are the foundation of fear. Those egoic mind patterns are the foundation of anger. Those egoic mind patterns are the foundation of separation and a world and a human family that's manifesting more separation, the same dysfunction, the same evils. And if we want a new world, if we want to awaken to our life's purpose, we're going to have to allow for the truth to break up those old mind patterns and allow us to experience something else, and then to demonstrate that something else to others. We have a very important principle in unity in the 5 principles, and it's the 5th one. You can know all the other principles, that there's only one power and one presence, that God is absolute good, and that good lives in every single person, and that we create our reality by the activity of our thinking, and that through prayer and meditation we increase our conscious contact with God. But if we do not put them into practice, those principles have no meaning, and they have no purpose, and we do not evolve spiritually. So the 5th principle is, knowing these truths, these laws of life are not enough. We have to live them. We have to live them. I'm going to go back and forth here today because I think it's important to look at what Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, has said regarding consciousness. I'm reading from the Revealing Word. I think it's very important to look at what consciousness is, where we are in our consciousness, where are we going, where do we want to go in our consciousness, and how do we get there? That's a really important step. I think part of that will be mentioned in our workshop this afternoon with Diane, is how do we get there? How do we actually bring into manifestation the vision of our heart based in spiritual truth? So consciousness can be said to be a sense of awareness or knowing, a knowledge or realization of any idea or object or condition. It is actually the sum total of all accumulating ideas affecting man's present being. It's a composite of ideas, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and knowledge. So let's think about those things. Ideas, thoughts, emotions, sensations, and finally knowledge. What you've learned, what you know, what you've learned through your life experience. All of those things combined make up your consciousness. But it's not just sense consciousness. It has to include all 3 phases of mind. It has to include conscious awareness, subconscious, and for me, most importantly, is superconscious. Because what we do is we fill our subconscious with a lot of stuff that really hurts us. And then when the chips are down, the default mechanism is anger, fear, and attack. Because we've placed that in our subconscious. And it seems like we're not even in control of ourselves. Like our emotions are just flying all over the place and easily attacking those which we should be trying to help. Because when we see someone angry, when we see someone upset, when we see someone attacking another, attacking them is not going to help. The reason they're that way is they were attacked when they were younger. And of course you see it manifest in the world. All this attack is going out, blaming other cultures and other people for the problems they perceive in the world, but never coming back to yourself. And that's the spiritual path, to come back to your own consciousness and to work with that. And so you will be better able to teach those who are acting out of anger and fear, because you're not responding with the same anger and the same fear. You're responding out of spiritual, what we call spiritual intelligence. Something I learned in my Unity studies is we did a class, an emotional and spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence can be defined as reacting with compassion and wisdom in any situation while maintaining inner and outer peace. Do you act with compassion and wisdom in every situation while maintaining your inner and outer peace? So that's why we need to be in school. That's why we come here, to gain more spiritual intelligence, or what I would say, evolve spiritually. When I came into this community, I was told that this community is very spiritually evolved. And I said, well, that's nice, because that's what I want to be. That's what I want to aspire to each and every day. And those are the kind of people I want to be around. Because when I am building my house on the foundation of fear and forget that it's only built on the foundation of love that will work for me and everyone, then I need reminders. I need to be in school. It only seems hard because we're so practiced at the other way. We have so much practice in responding out of fear and anger. We have so much practice in defending our thoughts against all reason. We are so practiced at defending our greed and defending our guilt and defending our judgments toward others. We're so practiced at all of that we need to allow those egoic mind patterns to be broken up and to accept a new evolution. That's the evolution of our consciousness, spiritual consciousness. I looked up spiritual consciousness and it says, see Christ consciousness. Okay, I'll go to Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is built in accordance with the Christ ideal, or an absolute relationship to what? God, the divine Father, Mother, God, the Creator. So that's where it begins, my friends. It doesn't begin with being able to respond with compassion and wisdom automatically. I have to have a relationship with God, with the divine, with however you want to define God in your own terms, in your own understanding. Get a relationship with that, whatever that is. Do the prayer and the meditation and everything that fills your soul. Get your spiritual practice going and keep it going. We're not here to dictate your spiritual practice to you, but we are here to provide a space where you can be about it, where you can find others who are evolving spiritually. So, an absolute relationship with the divine is Christ consciousness. And we're evolving in that Christ consciousness. And we do it through the illumination or the enlightenment of our mind, of our ideas, of our thoughts. Illumined consciousness is simply a mind purified by the light of truth. True ideas. Everyone can relate to true ideas. Everyone can go, wow, I'm feeling something different when I built my house on the cornerstone of love. I'm feeling something different. That is a blueprint. That is the blueprint for living. And so this is the type of consciousness that we're evolving. An interesting fact is that this consciousness has been evolving all along. And it's been developed through incarnation after incarnation. We just haven't been aware of it because we've been so focused on our sense consciousness. So where we're going is from sense consciousness to Christ consciousness. And how we get there is to realize we're already there. That's the easiest way to get someplace, is to realize you are already there. And to allow all the obstacles to that awareness to be taken away, to disappear. That's the breakup of our egoic mind patterns. You never left the heart of God or the mind of God. Yes, you do have a journey to take, but that journey is one without distance. The Spirit of the Lord, says Charles Fillmore, in this wonderful book, The 12 Powers of Man, the Spirit of the Lord has been evolving in your subconscious mind, incarnation after incarnation. The supreme I Am was moving all through every single incarnation you've ever had. He talks about God as the supreme I Am. It's the source of all of us, and it's still not only within you, it's your whole being. You've just been distracted from who you really are. You've been distracted from your supreme I Am because you keep identifying yourself as something else, an ego. I am this, I am that. I am sick. Be careful about all that. I am one and in and always will be the supreme I Am. I am in the midst of me is communicating to the I Am in the midst of you. I am love. I am peace. I am joy. I am one. I am one with the compassion that exists in each and every one of us. And I know that everything else will fall away, and that love will be the only thing left to see. But I am completely certain that it has to happen in me. That I cannot demand anything of you that is not happening first in me. And then I can only offer it to you as an invitation. You have to take up the invitation. They said you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But when he's thirsty enough, he's going to drink. And that's just a fact. Humankind is getting thirsty for compassion and love. Humankind is getting thirsty for real manifestation, demonstration of our oneness. Humankind is getting thirsty for the truth. And that truth can only be revealed in you. I can't give you the truth as a conceptual truth. Words can only lead to the experience of truth. And I can offer you a lot of words. I love words, especially the revealing word. Because it offers me another way of looking at things. That's what metaphysical Christianity is. It's taking the people, the words, the places, the things, the events, and looking at the meaning of it in the greater context of humankind. Not defining it, but allowing it to be defined for you. Let's go back to Eckhart Tolle for a while. I said I was going to jump back and forth a little bit. I really want you to hear this. What's our decision? Evolve or die? I saw 7 tornadoes. I promised I wouldn't get into all this, but among all the other things that human beings are doing to each other, they're doing some. We are all participating in a climate disaster. There were 7 tornadoes at one time yesterday in the Midwest. We don't hear much about that because there's a large denial that we actually are at the brink of a decision of evolve or die. Evolve or allow the species to be completely changed. Maybe this earth will become uninhabitable. Maybe it would take a long time for that to happen. But if we don't change now, we can see what's happening in the future. And I'm absolutely certain that the change has to occur in my consciousness. Because the only reason I would protect destruction of the planet or protect destruction of other people is because I'm protecting an idea about myself that's not true. And that's that I'm separate from you. And that everyone does not deserve the same love and compassion that I do. That somehow there are those of us who deserve better than others. It's just not true. It's just not true. The inequality in this world right now is the manifestation of our false identity, is our insistence that our ideas of separation and that house that we built on fear and hatred and anger is the true foundation. And it's not. And no one is going to tell me, no one's going to grab a Bible and tell me that's the way God meant it to be. Because it's not true. Because God is love and only love. And that's what we intend to teach and demonstrate here. And I want to see this place full every Sunday. I would love for you guys to bring your friends, to tell people about what we're doing here, to bring them to all the classes, to all the events, and to come on Sunday. This isn't just a social event. This is the evolution of my consciousness, of your consciousness. And I truly believe, as many spiritual teachers do, including Charles Fillmore, Eckhart Tolle, and many others, that the evolution of our consciousness is humanity's most immediate and desperate need. Why is it so important? Because we can't ignore this need any longer. In order to fully understand it, we're going to have to look at, how do I get all the way from where I seem to be in sense consciousness to Christ consciousness? Well, I just said the first thing is to realize you're already there. You're not going to be doing it alone. The Course in Miracles has a wonderful sentence. It says, don't be afraid to attempt to do what Christ asks you to do. It cannot be difficult to do what Christ asks you to do because it is He who does it. It's the Christ within you who is doing it. Not Christ the person, Christ the principle, Christ the principle. We just read Christ consciousness is simply a relationship with the divine. But what is it? An absolute relationship. And that's what we're cultivating, is our absolute relationship with the divine. So what is arising now? This is amazing. I want to see if you guys can really hear this and grasp what Eckhart Tolle is telling us. What is arising now is not a new belief system. It's not a new religion. It's not a spiritual ideology. And it's not a mythology. We are coming to the end, not only of mythologies, but of also our ideologies and our belief system. The change goes deeper than the content of your mind, deeper than your thoughts. In fact, at the heart of the new consciousness lies the transcendence of thought. Isn't that wonderful? At the heart of this new consciousness lies the transcendence of thought. Isn't that amazing? No matter what you think about it, consciousness is all of it. The thoughts, the feelings, the ideas, the experience, the knowledge. So it has to go deeper than the content of your mind. The thoughts and ideas are only given you as divine revelation, inspiration, to get you into the river, to get you into the flow of spiritual energy. Once you jump in, you're gone. Whoosh. Did you ever go rafting or kayaking in a really fast river with rapids? Once you get in, you're at the mercy of the flow. You're at the mercy of that river. We went to this river when I was very young, at 21 years old. I went to a river in California with my brother, and we were young and a little foolish. We grabbed a raft out of his garage, a couple of paddles, a couple of life preservers that you might have worn in the 50s. And we thought we were very adventurous, and we went off to one of these Category 4 rapids. And we drove way up the river, like where it started, and we ignored the woman in the store on the way who said, "Be careful on that river." A lot of people have lost it going down that river. And we thought, well, we're athletic and we can do anything. And we jumped in that river with that raft, and within 5 minutes, we were capsized and we were at the mercy of the river. A half an hour later, we find each other on the shore, and we get back in the raft. We get back in the river, and there's some more rapids. We capsize. And it was like that, like for the first 2 hours, where we would get in the river, we would capsize, and it would take us a while to recover. We were at the mercy of the flow. Now, the ones who had evolved in their sense of river travel, they went to the rafting company who had a professional guide who knew how to steer the raft, which was 5 times bigger than our raft. And they paid the money to the professional to guide them down the river. And we saw them going by us as we were trying to gather our things on the shore. We're trying to save each other with sticks. Come on. And gather ourselves to get back in our little raft. And we saw these guys go by us. Woohoo! They're having a lot more fun than we were. They had evolved in their practice of river travel. And I would ask each of you to attempt to find the guide here in our spiritual travel. In our travel through life, we need to pick a guide who knows where he's going, who has the right tools, the right truth, the right, or at least more effective, I won't say right or wrong, but more effective means of spiritual evolution. And once you find that, my friends, stay on that raft. Don't try to do it yourselves. Because there are a lot of minds that have evolved. The evolution of spiritual consciousness has been going on since the beginning of time. The spirit of the divine within you has been evolving and evolving over time. And that's where we need to tune in. That's where I needed to tune in this week. When I started getting upset with the world, I had to come back to center. And I had to get on the right raft. Because I knew if I got back on that other little tiny way of thinking, I was going to capsize. And I'd get back in that little tiny way of thinking, and I would capsize again. And I will capsize again. And yes, I recover each and every time, but it takes a lot of effort. So my friends, trust in the divine within you. Trust in the one power and the one presence in you. Know there is a revolution happening, and it's glorious, and it's wonderful and beautiful. And you can step into that right now, because that evolution of consciousness is happening in you. Welcome aboard. Thank you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.